Hey everybody, welcome to Let's Talk Tuesdays. So this is the first video of our series of Let's Talk. And the idea of this is that each Tuesday we'll have a video that will talk about topics that are relevant to youth in various ways. And so throughout our time, sometimes it might be me in this scenario just talking and pondering some ideas. And in other times, we'll do some Zoom interviews with youth from the community, youth from our church at St. Luke's, different people that have been teachers of mine or coworkers of mine, and in other connections as well. The idea of this is that it's literally talking. Let's talk. Let's have conversations about things that matter to us in various ways. And so to kick off today's, I want to talk about this phrase that kind of just came up actually last week for me. And this phrase is different, not less. And this got me thinking actually in like a million directions. But one of the things it got me thinking about was a 7th grade retreat we had this past winter through a confirmation program at St. Luke's. And one of the things that we talked about specifically was, who am I? And so we broke down that question in many ways. And we talked about some big things. What are lies that are said about us? What lies do we believe that the world says about us? So some of them mentioned were that I'm not pretty enough. I don't wear the right clothes. I'm too this, or I'm too that, or I'm not enough of this and not enough of that. And you can take a moment to think through what would you answer in those things. I know for me, one of them was that sometimes I come off as too passionate, or wear my heart on my chest too much, or too goofy, something like that, right? And then we dug a little deeper into what lies do you believe about yourself? And some of those might have been the same as the lies we believed the world said about us. And so what lies do we believe about ourselves? What lies do you believe about yourself? Can we acknowledge that they're indeed lies and not full truths about who we are? There's some big questions to think about. And I ask you to ponder these questions, think about these, not just today in this quick video, but continued thought process of what is that? What does that mean for me? How does that affect different ways that I view myself or view the world around me? And then what was really cool and in my perspective as a leader of this was exciting was that we wrote these things down on this sheet and in these like blocks on the paper. And we took that same paper with the same colored blocks, same amount of blocks, and handed it out, flipped it over, and it said, who God says I am. So in these blocks where we might have put, I'm too fat, I'm too skinny, I eat too much, I don't eat enough, I wear Adidas and not Lululemon, or whatever it is. I am to this, to that, whatever it may be. And in that box, it says, I am worthy. I am precious. I am enough. I am loved. I am called. I am claimed. God says, I love you. You are my child, right? And so, as we broke that down, we went on with the retreat and we had conversations around this, and it was a beautiful moment. There was great things. And then all of this came back to me with this simple phrase, different, not less. And I got to think about that. In today's current circumstance, there are so many questions. In fact, usually when we get an answer to one of our questions about what's going on in this pandemic or how we respond to it, usually that answer comes with more questions. And so I started thinking, if we have all these questions, when do I get to see my friends again? I saw my friends. Should I have done that? Whatever it is, all of these things are hitting us with so many more questions and anxieties and worries and concerns that come with that. And so it's not just like what we do, but how we receive the things that are going on around us is all going to be different. I don't know about you, but for me, that is hard. You go on social media and people respond to things differently. You go whatever you may be doing, people are going to experience that and do that differently. And one thing that hit me was in this time period, I've tried to do more walking and running and paying a little more attention to what I eat. I joked with someone earlier today. It didn't mean that I didn't have a brownie last night, but it meant that I was conscious of the situation and trying to be more active around that and like maybe not have as big of a portion as I maybe would have. That's just kind of a funny example. But that how I respond to that and what that means for me, and even the example of eating a brownie, is going to be totally different than what it is for somebody else. And that situation, getting out for a walk, that type of thing, might cause more pain. We don't know what that is. And so different isn't less. We are here to love. I reminded of this group that I got to get to know a little bit at a conference I went to for youth ministry, and they're called the Mini. And they have this song that the chorus is, "We are on this earth to love." And it really got me thinking, that's what Jesus was about. We're on this earth to love. And so that means we're going to love people that are unique and they're different than us. And thank God for that. If we're all the same, it might seem like an interesting idea, but it would be pretty bland and boring. So in our differences, we learn, we grow. So what I'm asking for in this idea of different, not less, is that we dig into things. When we find differences, we dig into that with Christian love, and we learn from one another. We learn that what makes us different, whether it be, again, I wear Adidas and not Lululemon, or I do this thing and not that thing, that those differences make us who we are. And who we are is most certainly not less. Jesus claims that in the gospel more times than you can imagine. That Jesus goes out of his way to talk to those that were seen as less, just because they were different. And Jesus breaks down that barrier instantly and says, I hear you, I see you. So no, different isn't less. You are heard, you are seen. Let's offer that to one another. Thanks. We'll see you next week, Tuesday, for Let's Talk. Some of the topics coming up will be interviewing one of the youth from St. Luke's to talk about seeking discomfort, and we'll talk about some phrases that are said about youth these days with a friend of mine, and breaking that down, and many other cool topics. One thing I want to ask is that if you have any topic you want to be discussed on this weekly video, or you want to have a conversation, an interview conversation about a topic, please reach out. Right below this video on our website is a link to either email or text or call me. So I would love to be able to have those conversations and continue them to go in ways that are most meaningful for you. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.